Dear Dhamma friends, today is the first day in our retreat and we are going to take time for the first Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down for the Dhamma talk and give the consent 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Sunnatha virantang anandetarai baulang viramiti kacci me tang bhante susutang sugahitang sumanasikatang suparidharitanti. Dear Dhamma friends, we again met in this Emmaus Center and going to have a long retreat. It's a residential retreat, so therefore it's a very rare chance for us to have such a retreat. So we, each and everyone individually, as well as a group, must take the maximum care to make this endurance successful. Because we know how much the value of time, that is why we have to facilitate it with our maximum capacity. So we are facilitating this with our maximum ability, and for that the Buddha prescribed 5 ways to facilitate such a retreat, specifically when you are doing in residential way. That, in other words, a full time. The first and foremost thing the Buddha mentioned individually is to facilitate it with your morality. So that means you are observing a higher precepts than your norm in the day-to-day activities. Namely, we take 8 precepts as lay people. That is to refresh your mind. Not only that you are changing the atmosphere, but changing your precepts and your co-practitioners instead of family members. Likewise, we make this new so that mind can think anew. The second point is, as far as the facilities are concerned, this listening to Dhamma talks. Each and every one of us already acquired a certain amount of knowledge, specifically with Dhamma, as well as in the common sense. But even then, repetitively maybe, listening to Dhamma is always refreshing. Even during the contemporary time of the Buddha, he himself demonstrated that better to listen to Dhamma. He asked some of his disciples to preach his own Dhamma in return. That is a kind of a respect as well as refreshment. The third way is to have a discussion, and that is the way it's in a dialogue. Practitioners or co-practitioners get together and discuss and share their experience. That's also very rare opportunity. In the sense, we can say only in this dispensation the discussions are valid. All the other things, all the other sasanas or in the dispensation, you have to just believe the holy script. You have to believe the superior authority. You have no chance to discuss it. And it appears like some kind of a adamant nature, so therefore discussions are not allowed. In the other places, it's happening only the believing, just believing the Holy Script. But here the Buddha says, nothing you must accept without arguing, without reasoning. So therefore, not only within yourself, but among the practitioners, co-practitioners, the discussions are encouraged. So it's also a way of facilitating your progress. Armed with this morality and theoretical understanding of book knowledge, as well as this inferential or argumental knowledge, one has still practice concentration meditation as well as the wisdom. That means Samatha and Vipassana. So all five together quicken, hasten your progress. So we are individually also going to follow as much as possible, and we are abiding by the group discipline, and as a group also we try to keep them. That is how we behave like a family members here, and therefore each and everyone must understand at the outset. Then the gathering of the momentum will be very fast. So with respect to talk or Dhamma Desana discussion is concerned, we had a little agreement so that we selected one particular discourse from the Sutta Pitaka, or the discourse of the Buddha, specifically from the Anguttara Nikaya. This particular sutta is known as Chula Sutta, the minor discourse on the emptiness or voidness that you find in Anguttara Nikaya. And this is basically indicating two things. One thing is how to reduce defilements, or how to reduce the stress, how to reduce the tension, frustration. The second thing is how much it is relative to each other, and in a sense, it's a great discourse on relativity. So therefore, these are the two themes. Day by day, we are, episode by episode, we are learning how we are advancing in terms of relinquishment from defilements or stress or tension, and how much it is relative to the early stages and the early episodes, and therefore the way progress is quite intrinsical. Each and everyone has to monitor it according to one's own progress. So therefore, whatever may be the starting point, whatever may be the opening balance, you must gauge yourself in the sense, one thing you are progressing, that means the stress is reducing little by little, and it is always something relevant to the starting point. So both of them are very, very practical points, and I find it's very difficult for someone to understand this progress, understand this acceleration, this accumulation, because our other premeditative ideas, other preconceived ideas, so therefore we often try to become absolute pure people, or we are quite unsatisfactory about the speed or the progress. So therefore our result-oriented approach itself is creating more tension and more frustration if you do not know this particular sutta. It's a widespread disease in the circles of meditation, not only in the business people, not only the politicians, not only among the other society workers, social workers, even among the meditators. They never happy about this slow progress, so they expect too much of results, and therefore instead of reducing the tension and the frustration, they are brooding. And instead of comparing your past and the present, you try to compare with the neighbors. You try to compare with the other superior beings, and then utterly you get frustrated. Utterly you get disappointed. Self-negation. and no wonder you can commit suicide as a meditator. It's very easy because you don't know the relativity, because you don't know the sole idea of this meditation is to not to worry, to get rid of this frustration, to get rid of this tension. Instead, if you start to measure other criterion, if you are going to use other measurements to weigh and measure your progress, utterly it is complicating your meditative life. So therefore, right from the beginning, I would like to mention, be patient and always understanding. Always understand, never we can go to the perfection. Never. So always relative. So therefore you have to compare it in the sense with your past, or in the sense your trial and error, or your mistakes. Your mistakes are the best teacher. And according to that only you have to understand slowly straightening of the path. With that respect, the Chula Sunnatha Sutta is a very important, and it is so practical and pragmatic. No one use it. No one never discuss about this kind of sutta. They want to have something to boost their ego or to go for their pet ideas, and therefore they are not happy with this kind of a thing. So for my life, I have never heard any discourse on this based upon this sutta. They have been completely cornered because it is stressing again and again. You must be very patient to monitor your progress, and you must be appreciating your own mistakes. And with respect to mistakes, if you are reaching more and more to the least frictional path or to the comfort zone, you are the very person to measure it. Of course, you may discuss with others and see, but anyway, the final judgment or decision, even at the intermediate stages, you are the person. So the Buddha, even the Buddha himself never reserved any kind of authority on that, and he is individually you have to take. So therefore, right from the beginning, there's a huge trust upon the individuals, not giving the authority to the teacher, not giving the authority to any other superior being. The Buddha himself never kept in his hand. So therefore you have to have open-minded situation. So this is for this somewhat as far as the introduction is concerned, or to give the opening. And with that understanding, we'll go into the sutta or the Pali, and you have to think about the contemporary time of the Buddha. That means after about 20-25 years of his enlightenment, then only the Buddha started accepting the forest dwelling or monasteries, and starting the teaching of the disciples, and staying in one place number of days. These are very crucial features in the early dispensation of the Buddha. And because the first 20 years he traveled one place to the other, there are no set monasteries, not accepted forest dwelling or monastic dwelling. So therefore is traveling, very difficult for him to give a formal teaching to the students. And even the senior disciples, there were no institution as such of teaching specifically on the theoretical thing. But after 20 years, when more and more people turned into monks, and understanding about the monastic rules and the discourses was very important to have a uniformity among the disciples. So then the Buddha started accepting of these monasteries and forest dwelling, and on top of that there was some systematic teaching, so that not only the Buddha, his senior disciples also learned the art of epistemology, the organization of knowledge. That's a great achievement for the human being. They have a lot of knowledge, even now. but it is not organized. So therefore, that knowledge is doing more harm than benefits. Just like individual flowers on trees compared with the garland. A garland is an organized way of setting the flowers, and then it's more beautiful when you know how to make a garland. So likewise, this knowledge started to accumulate, the epistemology, and everything started in the second half of the life of the Buddha. That means after the first 20 years. Then only the Jetvanarama and Migaramātupāsāda, Pubbārāma, the basic features came into being, and this particular discourse happened in the Migaramātupāsāda, that's Pubbārāma, that is near Savatthi, and presently that place already discovered, only very little hut is available. Rest of the places are being encroached by the other people, and never no signs to recognize as a sacred place. But last time when we go there was one monk and he has put up a temporary hut and told this is the Migaramātupāsāda, and right round people have acquired or encroached the land, so therefore hardly any building we can put up. There's no support from the government also. But anyway, he came to Sri Lanka and learned little bit of meditation, and he tried to keep the center with little bit of meditation. So it is, if you go to Jetvanarama and then go to Aso Migaramātupāsāda, sometimes guides can show you, and you have to go about 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers, whereby you may see it, but there is no any, never appear like a religious place, because there's so much of villagers living very, very close by. But maybe during the time of the Buddha, it has been a very big place, and the Buddha himself spent maybe 5 to 6 rain retreats in the Migaramātupāsāda. This particular event also took place in this Migaramātupāsāda. When he was there, one day when Balananda, after his evening session of meditation, he got up and went to the Buddha, just his robe, and pay respect 3 times to the Buddha, and make this statement, that is what we have taken for the day's topic, Sunnatha viharena ananda etarahi bahulang viharana. Venerable Ananda is reminding the Buddha, Bhante, one day you told me, I remain full in the dwelling of emptiness. When you was in Kapilavattu, Nagaraka, the village called Nagaraka, and you told that you are dwelling in emptiness almost the time. When I heard that time, I did not get the definition for that. Kachme bante, kachme tang bante, susutang, sugahitang, sumanisikatang, supradhatante. Well, the word meaning, have I got it correctly, Bhante? Have I learned the term meaning correctly, Bhante? Have I attended to that correctly? And remember the same word what you uttered. That's the way Venerable Ananda is starting the dialogue. Then the Buddha says, yes, when I was in Nikrodharama, Nagaraka town, I told I am almost living in this, almost dwelling in this emptiness. Not only at that time, even now I am living, remain fully in emptiness, dwelling in emptiness. So the Buddha gave as a assuring kind of answer. And then he says, yes, you have heard this correctly, learned it correctly, and attended to it correctly, and remember it correctly. So this is the starting point. So this is the theme. When Ananda is repeating one of the statements made by the Buddha previously, and giving a topic for the Buddha to give more elaboration on that. And it is very, very important the way the Buddha is looking at this dwelling in emptiness, sometimes called abiding by voidness. And the example the Buddha given is very, very down to earth, very, very practical. But the term Sunnatha, it's a very deep philosophical term. So today also, whenever someone is talking on the Sunnatha, that means abiding by voidness or emptiness, is considered a deep philosophical terms. But in this particular sutta, the Buddha is giving examples, epithets, and way explaining is very practical. And even though it is very practical and very down to earth at the beginning, towards the end of the discussion, towards the end of the discourse, go to the utmost subtlety. So therefore one has to follow in a sequential way. And my remark or my interpretation or my idea is, even though the latter part is very, very subtle, most important thing is the original part, the beginning part. Very easy to understand. So if you can tackle, if you can understand, if you can follow early part, early examples, and the refinement and going to the deep subtlety is not much important. So therefore, be practical, be down to earth, and try to understand what is digestible, what is understandable. Then, with that, with the help of that model, you can go deep into the more subtle layers. It is like you are peeling off a red onion, a bulb of red onion. If you are remove the first peel, it is very gross, it is dried out, so easily you can remove. Once you remove, you open another peel, and then when you remove it, you are opening another subtle peel, and one by one, when you go there, ultimately you find nothing. Everything removed, and the subtlety, the circular nature of the peel increasing from outer to in. So something like that, or the famous example the Buddha given is the banana trunk. If you remove peel by peel, banana trunk, outer the peel layer is almost like a bark of a normal tree. And it's a color also green and brownish, and appear like a very symmetrical, well-toned trunk. And when you are removing one, you meet up with still subtle one, and it is very difficult to see the beginning part of the next subtle one. So you have to, when it's dried, it is easy to you to get the beginning of the next peel. But when it is wet, very difficult to understand. Once you remove a gross one, the beginning of the next subtle one. And once that is removed, still inside you find it is stick into the trunk, so-called trunk, in a such a way, very difficult to see the ending part. So slowly you are removing. Ultimately you find center has no pith. It's just a trunk of banana or just red onion, bulb of red onion. So external appearance is very, very beautiful, very succulent, and very nourished and juicy and sappy. Anyone may think there is a pith inside or hardwood, and therefore by removing the outer bark you may reach the hardwood, but instead you reach nothing, voidness, emptiness. So these are the examples. So we'll start with the first bark. The Buddha says, now we are living in the Migaramatupada, or that is being called as Pubbarama, because it is in the east of Jetavanarama. Therefore, it is the eastern monastery. And when we are living in this Migaramatupada, the Buddha says that Migaramatupada is free of elephants and the cows and hares and mares and whatever may be, livestock. So we know we have nothing to worry about the rearing and taking care about animal husbandry, because this monastery is not meant for that kind of farm. So therefore we are free of elephants, cows, horses, whatever may be. As well as it is nothing to protect jewelries or any kind of ornamental things, because Migara Matapasada is not meant for that. We don't have safes, we don't have keys, we don't have passwords, nothing. So therefore all go. So you have to understand, our mind is now free of worries regarding the animal husbandry and taking care. Nothing to worry about the protection, about the gold and all the kind of thing. And there are no assemblies and the societies and that or that, this and that standing on ceremonies. So therefore nothing to worry or the makeup of your thing and facials and talking and rhetoric and all kind of go. You are just in a monastery. So that is the Mikaramatu. And so much so, you free of this, all the kind of distraction, what you find in the household life. So therefore Mikaramatu, but you have to put up with the monks. It's a hell of a problem. Living with monks, you don't know. So that is the friction. Now you have given up your dear and near ones, you have given up your way of life, you have given up your jewelries and all the precious things, but there's a bhikkhu sangam paticca ekatam. You have to live, the people, the monks, or these meditators are coming from different cultures, from different mothers and different tastes. And when we are living here, we have to make the retreat successful, we have to understand each other. We have to put up with each other. So therefore, one has to still, even though the household questions are not there, we have to understand we have to live with other co-meditators. And in this particular sutta it is called Bhikkhu Sangha. So Bhikkhu means any person who has developed the fear of samsaric journey and who is trying to escape from samsaric journey is known as Bhikkhu, according to the Sutta Pitaka or according to the discourses. So any person specifically practicing meditation full time is worth calling Bhikkhu. But in the Vinaya, the Bhikkhu means take the high ordination with the congregation of monks. And Abhidhamma, yet another definition. Of course within the Sasana, but as far as the Sutta Pitaka is concerned, or discourses are concerned, Bhikkhu means Sansare by Dakhiva Bhikkhu. He has by already or by now, he or she already knows the friction, already knows the suffering nature of this existence, and not that he or she see the suffering nature and give up the hope, but he or she is having a hope, there's a way out. So both these two qualities are very, very important, and these are the intrinsic qualities of a bhikkhu. So whether you are a male or female, whether you're ordained or not ordained, whether you are a novice or a high ordained monk, as far as you are practicing, you come to worth calling bhikkhu. So therefore, whenever you renounce your house, come to the monastic community, even though you don't have any frustration pertaining to the animal husbandry or security of your this thing and standing on ceremonies, there's yet another one thing you have to sacrifice, you have to adopt yourself. That is what you call Bhikkhu Sangham, Paticca Ekattam. In that respect, you are not void. In that respect, you are not empty. That means there's a friction. There's a kind of a friction. And after giving that kind of such a vivid example, then the Buddha says, knowing that Knowing what? Knowing that you have no any problem regarding your livelihood. No animal husbandry, no farming, no any business. So therefore that problem is null and void. The frustration pertaining to that livelihood is null and void. And frustration pertaining to your secure, protecting of properties, jewelries and all the ornamental things, it's gone. And any kind of frustration regarding the standing on ceremonies, that wedding, this funeral, and this kind of thing, gone. And if you know, just by renouncing, just by going into the forest dwelling, not only the livelihood, not only your occupation, even the perception pertaining to this kind of money earning, gone. So even the perception is gone. So therefore, one has to understand how much relief or how much relinquishment you are doing by just mere renouncing. That is called kaya viveka, or physically you get a distance from your dear and near ones and your occupational commitments, standing on ceremonies and socialization, all gone. So if you know how much you got rid of, not only the physically materiality and the people, but even the perception, then you have to understand, the teaching of the Buddha is that dwelling with these other co-meditators, you have to put up. You must embrace it. You must be happy to understand, after giving up so much of frustration pertaining to the things as well as the perception, now you have a little amount of friction, frustration pertaining to the co-meditators, so you must be pleased with that. With a little bit of frustration. With that only you know you are renounced. Because you see here, only the white-clad people. We know here, we see people walk slowly, not talking each other, taking only 2 meals. So it itself is white-clad, white color is not so attractive, but it's a sign for you to say, you to understand, I am a renounced person. So therefore, when you go to the forest also, the monks or monastic life is not so attractive, but it is a sign, it's a symbol to say, I am no more a householder. So therefore, even if it is not so attractive, not so colorful, not so dramatic, you must know how to make yourself glad. That's a glad game. You must know how to be glad just by associating with such renounced people. Not by mere attraction, it is, you have to have deductive knowledge, you have to have inferential knowledge. It is something I earn. It is not a natural outcome. I only renounce this colorful life. I only renounce this money-earning life. I only renounce this phrase and gain and all the kind of thing, and I go and abide with this kind of people. They also not worried about such thing, but the people themselves are not very colorful. They are not very dramatic. They are unto themselves. So how one can make pleasurable pakkhandati? Pakkhandati means plunging into that. And some general English translation says it's pleasurable, take delight of that. So, but there are some other very technical, very scientific meaning. That is to say, whenever you have varietal entertainments or different things to see, things to hear, things to smell, things to taste, things to touch, and pet ideas, there are 6 channels. The visual objects, sounds, smells, taste, touch, and the pet ideas. But our mind is unified thing. At a time, it can only take one. So therefore, when and where you have so much of varietal entertainment, if you have ability only to have one, the filtration must be there all the time. Out of 6, you must select one. And selecting one means rejecting 5. That is the formula. So therefore, when and where you select one, that is you plunge into that, so much so you cut off from the rest of the 5. That is philosophical at the beginning. That is something inferential at the beginning. That is something you have to learn at the beginning. So without plunging into one, you can't get rid of the balance of the 6, balance of the 5. So therefore, more you plunge into one means you are totally done away with the rest of the 5. So therefore, plunging into one and renouncing with the other is the 2 sides of the same coin. So you have to select. It is no choice. So therefore, whenever you selected, I select out of these 6, this one, and you know, as far as you have selected this, balance 5 is gone and gone forever. So plunging into that particular selected one means you are far and far away from all the 5. So if you know that it is not a choice for you, it is a given situation. So this pakandana means plunging into one. Person who know about this principle can plunge into the most beneficial one, so that in the same token you cut off from all the other less beneficial thing. That is the way we use our will. That is the way we use our choice, if at all we have a choice, if at all we have a will. But if you do not know this universal principle or mind principle, what we select is the most defiled one. Out of these 6, natural mind, untrained mind is selecting most defiled one, that is to say, the pleasure principle. We select what is giving the most pleasurable and self-boosting and giving more conceit, giving more desire. That's one naturally goes and select, and at that moment you feel so pleasurable. But ultimately when the consequences are coming, you can see how much you have foregone the beneficial 5 and selected the most destructive, with the most consequences, the gross one. That is what we call the commoner's mind. That is what we call untrained mind. This is what we call uninstructed mind. So the Buddha says, now in this particular sutta, is comparing the household life versus renunciated life. By selecting the renunciated life, even if it is not so attractive, you have done away with the sensuous life, sensuous gratification. And less attractive nature of this renunciated life indicates slowly you are getting rid of the desire. You are getting rid of varietal entertainment. You are getting rid of the dramatic nature of the life. So you purposefully selected the less dramatic, less attractive and monastic life. Likewise, when and where in the normal commoner's life, if he or she knows at a given time we have 6 channels open, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching and thinking. If you are not prepared, if you are not instructed, naturally mind goes to the most defiled thing, most self-boosting thing, most conceited, seeking about the conceit and the desire. So therefore, whenever 6 available, can you take a split second and to select the less desirable one or less conceited one or less egotistic one, that is the most miraculous thing in the human mind, and for that only Buddha is addressing. And if you do not know that, no Nibbana, don't worry, you can't understand it. So therefore each and every time, each and every thought moment, each and every event in our life, each and every episode, we are with so much of options. Uninstructed mind select the most defiled thing, according to the pleasure principle, according to the egotistic idea, according to the conceit, according to the desire. So knowing that is going to give a very bad consequences, whether you like it or not, sacrifice it, listen to the Buddha, understand I have my own discipline, I have my own restraint, and therefore I am going to select something more secure, more protected, and more praised by the Buddha. That is why the renunciation or the physical solitude is first and foremost in this spiritual life. Not that it indicate that the facilities and amenities you find the spiritual life is more attractive. It is not intrinsically mind is chasing behind it. You go there due to the instruction of the Buddha. Even if you go there, the situation is not up to your mark. And you have to put up with it because you have done with so much of dangerous pleasure principle, namely your livelihood, your dear and near ones, your precious things, and you were compromised to this. So, understanding this, the plunging into the facilities, so-called, or amenities you have in the monastic life indicates whether you are a real yogi or you are a untrained, unexposed, uninstructed person. So, in other words, yet in another way, the Buddha mentioned, when you are renounced and go to the forest, here we have come to the mouse, when you come there and you find that facilities are not enough, our fellow beings are not behaving well, and things are not pedantic and as work to rule, that means you are creating unwanted problems, fussy. You will never accumulate anything good because you don't know, even though it is not so very attractive, by glad with this given situation, how much defilement you can do away with. So much so defilement called void, and it is empty. Because you hold into kind of a monastic situation, even though it is not attractive, you plunge into that, you make glad, you know the glad game, and so much so you plunge into that, you have done away all the other kind of thing. So it's that very particular thing, I would put it this way, to understand that very particular thing, how many retreats you have to take and undergo. Each and every time when you renounce, you try to expect similar situation like at home, similar situation like dear and near ones and all the facilities, so much so you are a fussy person, making situation more complicated, not only for you, even the fellow meditators. So therefore, so much compassion you must have to the fellow meditators. If you ever find fault with or find friction with the atmosphere, aranyagata, rukkamula, sunyagara, that is go into the forest, sit under a tree and go to empty place. If you feel lonely, if you feel boring, that means mindset is not yet prepared for advancement, even the outset. And if you find other people are not work to rule, they are not precise as you, they are not moral and ethical like you, that means you are creating unwanted frustration. And there won't be any settle down of your mind, and Buddha is assuring that. So understand, when you go to a monastery, when you take your solitude, it is not escapism, there's a huge challenge. Other people also come to the same boat, you are in the same boat, and if you find boat is more shaky, and people do not know how to ride the boat, and you make fuss out of that, you don't know how much you have got rid of the sensuous pleasure as well as sensuous perception. So that understanding is not meditation. It is what you call the informational knowledge. It is what you call your attitude. It is what you call your preparedness to take this monastic life. So we here maybe 10 days, but if the day may or may not be, happen you to go to and dwell in the monastic life, you can see what a misery they have made in the monastic life. Completely show off. No one is happy. No one is contented. Fighting, killing each other, complaining, jealousy, and almost like the day-to-day life. And if you go to the Christianity, if you go to the Muslim, if you go to the others, it's a more worst. It's recorded. We are just follow suit. We are learning how to fight as a monastic people. You can go to and there was a few articles recently, Nibbanic fighters or Nibbanic terrorists. They are fundamentalists and they are telling we must kill other people because we have to protect Buddhism. So they have taken weapon. The first terrorist group happened in the Bangladesh. It was historical, but no one knows because they were very little in the one part of the Bangladesh. They are living in the mountains. And now Burma, Sri Lanka, Thailand, there are Nibbanic terrorists. That is because they don't know. They have renounced this fighting world. They have renounced to go and dwell upon this peace or gladness. But still there are reasons unfair and not even and no just within that. So they get worked up and ultimately fighting each other. So each and every yogi, if I am permitted to use the term, lunatic, mad. They don't know their renunciation. They expect other renounced people also must be like that. And that place also must have all the amenities and facilities. So therefore, when and where you renounce, you become frustrated. It is kind of a thing, very difficult with your genetical understanding. Very difficult to expect a person to be born with that understanding. It is a kind of a sansaric training or sansaric trends or sansaric quality, very rare. Very rare. I mean, renunciation itself is rare. And after renouncing, appreciation of that situation with respect to this voidness, with respect to this emptiness, no one knows. And that is why Venerable Ananda wanted to highlight it after the word the Buddha uttered. He says, I am living, I am abiding by this voidness. You mentioned when you are in Nigroda, Kapilavatthu and Nagarika town, and do you claim same here? Then the Buddha says, not only there, even now here, whatever the thing happen, whatever the thing come across, I accept very gladly. Because by dwelling on this renunciated life, I have done away with this all the dear and near ones, livelihood, business, protecting our properties and kind of thing. I know because this is a friction. By living in this friction, it's a symptom, it's a clear indication I am a renounced person. And if you do not know that, I will make you assured no nibbana, no any relinquishment. You will be ever taking your mindset even to the solitude life. Even then you are in the same boat. Not only that, you are creating so much of problem to the other meditators also. So therefore, this stage is the most important. Towards the end, we will talk about the finer material and finer matter and matters, very subtle, and this is the starting point. So therefore, once a renounced person must understand the term pakkhandati, plunge into what is happening, and then make a life out of that. Don't complain. If you are complaining, your basic attitude, your basic viewpoint, your basic thinking is wrong. That cannot be adjusted by meditating. Maybe sitting meditation, maybe walking meditation, maybe mindfulness, day-to-day activities, but the basic understanding, the common sense or general understanding is very, very important. So therefore, it is a matter only for renounced people on the earth. Already unrenounced people never experience it. This sutta is no value. They can't find any relevance to their life because still they are living in the household life and they are never thought about and they have not understood the friction in the samsaric journey. So they want to improve more and more elephants and cows and horses and all the livestock. They want to increase more and more jewelry, more and more ornamental and keep lock and key. And they want to have more and more party going, more and more socialization, more and more standing on ceremonies. For such people, if you're going to talk about Sunnatha, it's worthwhile, they have to kill you. You're mad. You're talking nonsense. Buddha is nihilist. He is destructive. He is negative. Not for the creativity, not for the development. It's undermining all the creativity, undermining all the development. So therefore, Buddha is to throw away at least till you become 60s or 70s. Then you go and embrace Buddha. By the time you have to suffer, you know it. But in the early part, it's very easy. You have to keep the Buddha away and take other religions because they are talking about little bit of fun, little bit of entertaining. So this is the first and foremost. So therefore, if you know how to be glad in this forest living, or renounced life, or monastic life, it's a very clear indication your seeds are there regarding the Nibbana, regarding the relinquishment, regarding appreciation within rather than outside on the horses and elephants and cows and livestock or gold and other ornaments or any socialization. They are all external things. Now you have done away with so much of external things, but you have still a friction. You have to put up with the monks, put up with the other co-practitioners. So you have to understand how much you can get rid of by appreciating, by keeping accounts, bookkeeping with the day-to-day friction you have, and with respect to that, how much you have gotten rid of. That is the most important thing. This gladness, Ditta Dhamma Sukha, in this very life we have to understand. There is no person to come and give you a credit. The person to give and come and say this much you have got rid of due to this little. The day you understand that, the Buddha said, Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihari, you have gotten rid of so much of friction, so much of frustration, so much of tension. Of course you have little, and that is your symptom. That is your object of meditation. That is your benchmark. That is your reference point. As far as that friction is there, it is a very clear indication so much of gotten rid of. And that is called pakkhandati, pasidati, and you get satisfied with what is available. Satisfied with what are the meager facilities, you get it, and that is kind of a utility value. Never on luxuries, never on consumerization, and that happiness, that pasidati or that satisfaction, be happy with the amenities or meager facilities you have. I often say this dispensation of the Buddha, as well as the Girl Guides and the Boy Scouts, have exactly the same parallel thinking. They get rid of their life and go into the forest and start a jamboree, fire fireplace and live in this forest as an adventurous thing. That is in Girl Guides and the Boy Scouts. And exactly the same, Buddha, born to be a king, princely family, got rid of, leave aside all the palace and all the kind of this thing, and went into the forest. He told, more than any person, or equally like other people, I was a happy person on the earth. I sleep well, and I am very satisfied regarding this renunciation. So therefore, he renounced, not due to any divorce with the wife, or lack of children, or too much of children. No, that's such a problem. All things were very happy and satisfied. Still he renounced, and then he proclaimed and claimed, I am a happiest person. He just, generally he told, I am a happy person like you. Because he know how to be happy with the meager facilities. It's a very ascetic way of life. It's a very down-to-earth way of life. That is something in this very life, there is a Ditta Dhamma. More and more you try to be happy with what is available, that means you learn the term enough, it's enough. Whatever you are going to have with this luxurious way of life, consumerism, it's so much of consequences, so much of problems creating. So therefore, if you need more frustration, more tension, go to the luxurious life, go to the consumerization, go with this economic development, go with this political development, go with this infrastructure, go with this communication, everything, and give the very quick thrill, but the consequences. But instead, if you live with the bare minimum or basic needs or utility value, is the best way to give the answer to this global warming. The best way to answer this pollution, external environmental pollution and mental pollution. And the most important is equal distribution of properties among human beings. Today you can understand the top 1% people is using 80% of the properties on the earth. The bloody fellows are governing the countries. And they are making disparity more and more because they are sick mind. The way the Buddha, being a prince and give up and go and depend on these alms rounds, he living an exemplified life, the equal distribution of properties, and that's the maximum you can do. And not each and every person possible. They should have enough personality, enough abilities in mental and physical health. And for whenever such a thing happens, if you try to renounce and try to understand, try to plunge into this monastic life and try to be happy with whatever the facilities, then only your ways and means, adaptability, immunity, understanding of the other suffering, how to put up an impromptu knowledge, improvisation, everything going to happen. Not whenever you have enough luxuries and infrastructure, then mind become very narrow, stereotype. Only a little fraction of the mind is working. So human mind, in some sense, in the different context, Buddha mentioned, if someone is living with that limited mind, it's almost like a beast. Whenever you are finding ways and means how to fit into these meager facilities and make yourself happy, then the whole mind is working. That, for my vocabulary, I call it a human life. You are living. Otherwise, you are a caged animal in a zoo. You put into the same, you get the meals and you get everything, but within the cage. You are the very person caged because you don't like monastic life. So, imagine, whenever we are appreciating this, even one split second, maybe 1 hour, maybe 1 day, maybe 1 week, maybe 1 month, what a kind of wisdom we should have to take this way of life. And what a kind of way of thinking we should have just to appreciate it. We have it, but we don't have appreciation. That is the point. We have it, we don't appreciate it. Even when we are in the monastic life, some may think, what about having a dinner in the retreat? What happens even if we have dinner? It is nothing. 8 precepts we can reduce to 7. And together with the dinner also, it will be very nice. Why people are so frugal? So this is the way mind is working. So then asking that instead of 8 days, can I have 7 days and go home? Or instead of 8 precepts, can I have 7 precepts and have little supper in the evening? And these are the things happen. So I start laughing at, because I had the same problem before my ordination. But this is the only thing prevented me from ordaining. Because I had to skip the dinner. I challenge you, every person, you are not renouncing because of the dinner. Nothing. You people are qualified people. You will have all the facilities, but you don't renounce because you have the fear. How long can we live without the dinner? So individually you have your own thinking. So you don't know how to be satisfied with that, and you don't know the amount of pleasure. That is Ditta Dhamma Sukha. You can have, therefore, and how to settle into this monastic life, not thinking back and going and consider this a short term and I have to go back again, and no. Instead, this short term one you consider as your model, you know how to settle here, even for 1 day. Then you're happy. That is the happiness Buddha is talking. Not consider this as a open prison camp. Don't consider as a punishment due to your past karma, and that is how you have to be a monk or you have to be a monastic person. Then you are not settled. You are in a hell. So how to settle? How to get established? And but the beautiful thing is Buddha knows if you have the correct perspective, you can. That's a human nature. That is what we call the Tullabo Manusatta Patilabo. Having this human life still, you have the total potential. You have the total potent abilities and facilities. If you are not trying it, it will never grow. And Adhimuchyati must have a foresight. Not only just renouncing the household, coming to the forest, there are some other more austere practices. So this is the first and foremost acid test. In future I am going to take further. That foresight is Adhimuchyati. It's a very beautiful mental factor, mental concomitant, and some people translate it as enduring. But my personal idea is Adhimuchyati means Adhimokha is the mental factor. You have a foresight. I have done this great step, and I am not just be happy here. I am going to take further refining, further focusing, further adverting, and that is the way you make your mind recharged, make your mind more adventurous, make your mind more impromptu. And when that happens, you are happy that you have already one step, and you know the pros and cons, and you know this is not the stable place. I have to take further and further. So therefore, you never think back and regret about the renunciation. You look forward, and when you are looking forward, your mind will come out with 1,001 ways and means, and these ways and means not limited to or not characterized with the maleness and femaleness, not characterized with the young, middle age or old age, not characterized or not limited to the renunciated people and unrenunciated people, not depending on whether you are a Buddhist or not. This is what you call the birthright. This is what you call the, I would say, human right. So therefore, if you are not exploring into that, in a sense, it's a wastage of life. It's a wastage of time. So therefore, we have at least taken temporary or permanently renounced life or monastic life. See, day by day, how much we are appreciating our commitment and how much we fit into that. Find ways and means. It's a very clear sign how much you know happiness in this very life. And that is what you are refining. If you have not already earned by now, there won't be any progress. So therefore, make up your mind and be ready to this adventure, how much you are appreciating this already earned monastic life. So that indicates your correct view, your correct thinking pattern, and each and every one of us has enough merits, enough skill for that. With the help of this sutta, what I am asking is, please put in practice, employ them, and then lot of rapture, lot of gladness can come. It has to come. Make sure it is coming. With that remark, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.